Jim, this next one was sent via email, to the cornydrive-thru at gmail.com address from Mike in County Durham, UK.
Oh, I thought he was in North Carolina.
I was just wondering whether you think it's fair that in shoot interviews, wrestlers downplay Randy Savage's abilities because he didn't call his matches on the fly. Especially with so many spots being pre-planned today. He was exceptional in the ring, even though a lot of his opponents in the golden era of WWE were limited. He gave Warrior, arguably his two best matches, and at WrestleMania 5, made a huge 303-pound Hogan look somewhat mobile. Also, DDP had his best matches with Savage in WCW. Basically, I'm asking, if the cake tastes great, does it matter how it's made?
Well, first off, and with Page likes to set things up and walk through them also. So with him and Savage on the same page, I'm sure they had a great match. And I don't know if I've heard people downplay Savage's abilities in saying that and saying that he'd like to set things up so he was the shits. I haven't heard that. Savage didn't start setting stuff up until he went to the WWF. And what was, 87 was the match with Steamboat, where Steamboat has said that he came to him with it all written out, etc., and all the false finishes and blah, blah, blah.
They literally rehearsed it, I believe. Yeah.
Yeah. But Savage had been working for 10 years at that point. The matches he had in ICW, the matches he had in Memphis with Lawler, everything to that point hadn't been worked out ahead of time because nobody else would have done it with him. And he wasn't a big enough star at that point to insist on it happening. So he could work. I think he saw, he probably before most people, that Vince, all he cared about was keep the action going, fucking blah, blah, blah. He didn't care whether they rehearsed a match or not. And Savage wanted to, because he had the incredible cardio and he had the cat-like reflexes. He wanted to be able to keep going and going and going because that made him stand out from a lot of the other roster who were not that fast-moving. And remember, Randy was still only 6 feet tall, and on the juice, what was he, 240 or whatever. But he had that aura that made him more intense, and part of that was just moving. And if you had to stop and call a spot every now and then, that tended to slow things down. And also he was working with guys that weren't going 100 miles an hour to begin with. So I think the veterans, his contemporaries at the time, were at various degrees of bemused, amused, offended that he would write shit down and have a script to follow for a match. It was like the worst stereotype of what people who didn't like wrestling said. They're following the script, when there never was one. It was like guys who were offended when people said the blood was fake when it wasn't. And then people started using fake blood, and guys, including me in some cases, were like, what the fuck? So I think that's, where some people may criticize Savage, but he was an exceptional talent. He could go either way, but he wanted to do that. And as we've all heard, Savage had a mindset that if he decided something needed to be done a certain way, it was very hard to talk him out of it in any way, shape, or form. So probably the path of least resistance for a lot of guys, even if they didn't want to go along with it back then.
But this isn't something you heard about when he worked in Memphis after you left?
No.
Or when he worked with Bobby Eaton for Nick Goulas or anything else?
No, that was not a thing that anybody was doing then. I mean, you would talk in the locker room, especially if you hadn't worked with a guy often, about if you could talk in the locker room, if they were together, what kind of shit do you do? If you hadn't seen a guy, what do you do? Well, here's what I do. We'll call some of those things when we get out there. and we'll go over the finish. What's the finish? Okay, and the manager comes in, whatever. That was the preparation. What do you do? Well, here's what I do. We'll call some of those things. And then the fucking skeleton of the match was, okay, babyface shines, heel, cut him off, get some heat. Babyface, when it's time to go, make your comeback, and then here's your finish. That's what you were told by the booker. And, there was, so no, it was not going on with Randy or anybody else that I'd ever seen that would step by step plan a match before they went to the ring. I'd never seen that at that point, early 80s, at that point in time.
And I don't know if Dallas Page was doing that before Randy Savage or if Randy Savage introduced him to the concept, but there were wrestlers apparently that I think The Undertaker famously pushed back when Dallas Page was like, hey, here we're working together. Here's the script.
Yeah. Taker's, well, you can take that and fucking shove that all kinds of places.
But is that something you would have to worry about? Just like the idea that anyone else would accept what you want to do here?
Yeah, it depended on who the biggest star was as to which got their way in that case. But a lot of stars, even of that era, of the modern era of the 90s, would be offended if somebody came to them with a match worked out ahead of time before they got out there and got in front of the people. And you'd have a framework or a skeleton. And if it was a pay-per-view match or a sold-out Madison Square Garden, you might go in with a bit more of a framework and a jazzier skeleton, but it still wouldn't be all worked out. And some guys would be offended by the idea that they should work their shit out ahead of time. And truthfully and honestly, in the house show days, there was no reason to. The booker would say, either get 10 minutes, get 15 minutes, get 20 minutes, or get it right. Just when you go out and have the match that you think you want to have and it's right to go, just go. I don't care what time. Those were the kind of parameters you were given, not, okay, there's going to be 6 cues for breaks and you got to hit the exact time because we're fucking live on the network. And, make sure you do this 18 phase fucking finish. That wasn't a thing. So that's why everything looked less pre-planned and more spontaneous, because it was.
All right, Jim.
But yeah, Bobby loved working with Savage for Goulas, and they stole shit from each other. The thing that where Savage used to grab the guy by the head and run and jump over the top rope and spring the guy's neck on the top rope and he'd land on the floor. Bobby used to do that working for Nick, but Bobby didn't do that as well as Savage did. But Bobby did the elbow drop off the top better than Randy. I mean, smoother with less injury to the person that was being dropped upon. But they would do the Mid-America title match. They did a 90-minute draw one time for the Mid-America title in front of almost nobody in either Nashville or Chattanooga. But they had a chance to trial that shit because each one was the other was the only person they had to do shit like that in the territory where they could try shit.
All right, Jim. Well, with that, we're going to get ready to move to Guess the Program. And this week here on the show, Jim, you know what that chime means. It's time to chill out. And we're going to say that Guess the Program this week is sponsored by our friends. Has to be a way to make that sound good. At Cornbread Hemp. And of course, Jim,
yes,
we want to tell all the listeners about our fine friends at Cornbread Hemp.
And of course, if you take the Cornbread Hemp CBD gummies, you will automatically be able to play the organ or the keyboard or the xylophone or whatever the fuck that was better than Brian just did. But also, what you're going to find is that if you take the Cornbread Hemp CBD gummies, not only will your stress alleviate, not only will your discomfort disappear, not only will you be more relaxed, but also you'll be able to call better wrestling matches. That's been proven by scientific studies.
Well, I don't know about scientific studies, but I think Randy Savage, if he were alive today, could have used some Cornbread Hemp.
He could have used some to just de-stress because he was wound up tighter than a banjo string on Saturday night. But folks, if that's you, if you're wound up and you're shaking like a dog shitting peach seeds because you're nervous or upset, or the stress and the anxiety is coming down on you, The cornbread hemp CBD gummies are made from only the best part of the hemp plant, the flower, for the purest and most potent CBD. Let's say the kids run in and say, "Hey, Dad, the house is on fire." You're just going to say, "Shh, you'll wake up Mommy."
You know, maybe
You're
not
not
the
going
best
to get
example.
upset.
No, you're not going to use that example. That's not a good example. And I don't even know why your mind goes to these places sometimes. But going back to another place, a happy place, a fluffy place. Oh,
Fluffy
Jim,
place.
that chime, that means let's get together and enjoy
Let's
that
get
fine
together
CBD
and
product.
come on.
That's right.
Come on, people now. Smile on your brother. Everybody get together and take some CBD gummies right now from Cornbread Hemp. They're right here in Louisville, Kentucky. They're taking over the town. They're sponsoring the University of Louisville athletic program. Everybody in Louisville is on the CBD. That's why the crime rate's going down and the stress rate's going down and the relaxation rate is going up. And you can float just like a cloud, right? As a matter of fact, you take 3 or 4 of these CBD gummies, you will actually levitate in the air and you will float all the way over the top of Churchill Downs.
You won't be floating?
In honor of Louisville, Kentucky's finest citizens, Cornbread Hemp, and their various employees.
Eyes will float to the directions and the recommended dosage from those fine people that you could trust at Cornbread Hemp. And of course,
yes, no, your eyes won't leave your body. It seems like it.
It won't seem like it. It will seem like a wonderful day when you have these fine products. We enjoy them here. Suzanne is a big fan of Cornbread Hemp's products. I know Stacy is. I know you're being very difficult today.
It's a wonderful day when you can just look down on your disembodied body laying on the ground and you're up in the sky looking down on it. Disembodied. I started to say disemboweled, but that's not.
No, let's not use that either. No.
That's not what we were looking for.
No.
All these products are third-party lab tested. And boy, I'll tell you what, by the time you get to that third party, you're pretty well schnockered. So you'll go for anything.
Recommended dose.
But right now, take the recommended dose of everything all at the same time. Right now, our listeners can save 30% on their first order of the CBD gummies from Cornbread Hemp that will make you feel better and make your life easier and prevent you from strangling your next door neighbor who may or may not have returned your lawnmower in a timely fashion. Just go to cornbreadhemp.com/JCE. Use the code JCE at checkout. 30% off on your first order. That is 3 out of 7 gummies for free. Basically, if you do the math on that. So once again, and folks, I know that you've seen it in the news. There's a growing leprosy infection rate, and initial studies are saying the CBD can do wonders for leprosy.
No, there's no leprosy. We're at the end here, and all of a sudden
right
you
here
throw
at
in
the
this
end. I just
news
want to leave you with that right at the end. You've seen it in the news.
I've not seen it in the news. What news?
They're coming down with leprosy right and left. And people, this guy's ear fell off on Main Street the other day.
Whether that is or isn't the case, it has nothing to do with the fine products and the fine people like me that enjoy them from Cornbread Hemp. Jim?
I'm not saying that CBD gummies from Cornbread Hemp will cure leprosy, but there are no studies that say that it won't.
Oh, you hear that? You said the magic word, which is leprosy, which is not something you need to worry about. Jim, one more time, that promo code for all those nice people out there.
Cornbreadhemp.com/JCE. Use the code JCE at checkout. 30% off on your first order. Unlike if you get leprosy, 30% of your body will fall off.
Again, it has nothing to do with this, independent of this, but once again, a great product, Cornbread Hemp.
Yes.